Welcome, everybody. It is comedian Rajiv Satyal coming to you from Burbank, California. And Kamala Harris became the vice presidential nominee on Joe Biden's ticket, or she's part of that ticket. And whom else could we ask for how to pronounce Kamala than Richa Moorjani, who plays a character called Kamala on Never Have I Ever, which is a global hit on Netflix.
What would you like to watch, Devi? I found a Bollywood movie about a princess who falls for a lowly street sweeper. It's only 7 hours long.
Sorry, are you a model?
Oh, thank you so much. No, I'm a biologist. I could never be a model. I'm too curvaceous.
I am honored and thrilled to welcome my good friend, Richa Moorjani. How are you?
I am good, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
By the way, thank you for taking the time to connect with me. You're such a big star now, dude. You're so huge.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for saying that, but you don't need to thank me. We're friends, and this is such a long overdue conversation anyways. But thanks for asking. I mean, everything's been amazing and exciting, but also weird and not exciting being in quarantine. So there's a lot of different emotions. But yeah, so much has happened since we last saw each other in person. First of all, I love the name Kamala. I say Kamala, and the way we pronounce it on the show is Kamala. Kamala means lotus, and it's such a beautiful name. There's so much that comes with it. But yeah, I have always said it that way, so now we're hearing it being said a different way, and it's just interesting because I've always ever known it to be Kamala.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you also speak Hindi and any other Desi languages? And do you also know how to write the name Kamala in Devanagari, etc.?
Actually, I haven't. I do know how to write in Devanagari. I learned it in school, but I haven't tried to write it. But I think I'm like imagining in my head right now. I can write it. Yeah.
What's funny is my name Rajiv also means lotus.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It means lotus. Satyal, Satya, as you probably know, means truth. So I'm a truth lotus, but I've never really tried to brand that. I made the mistake in college of telling my 3 close, tall, white friends, Matt, Marty, and Mike, that my name means lotus. So the rest of the time, they just call me their little lotus.
Aww. I used to be Richa Tanu Shukla. Tanu unfortunately had to be deleted because otherwise it would have been too long. So now I'm Richa Shukla Moorjani.
My new last name is Moorjani, or I guess it's Moorjani. So funny, I don't even say my name right.
Johnny. That's all I think of. I just think of the song.
We actually played that at our wedding, and we started, someone over the microphone was like, Moorjani.
Perfect. I love that song.
But yeah, I also think it sounds better and like more European to say Moorjani. So I say Richa Moorjani.
Yeah, with a CH. It's like Middle Eastern European. It's just like Milan, Beirut cool, man.
Yeah, totally.
When we say Kamala, I always think of it as 2 syllables. And my mom is a Hindi professor. She learned Sanskrit. She grew up in Allahabad, so knows like the king's Hindi, right? Yeah, exactly. Like the is the reaction, exactly right.
Yeah.
And so she's spelling it. We're texting yesterday, and she's showing it to me. She's taught me this Thoda Hindi, or is it Thodi?
Thoda. Thodi Hindi.
Thodi Hindi? Okay, so Thodi Hindi. And I know it enough to look for like the matras and everything else, but my mom said really the proper pronunciation in the original name is Kamala, with 2 syllables. Is that right?
Exactly, Kamala. Yeah.
Kamala. Okay, but y'all spell it with the A as well on the show, right? It's Kamala.
Yeah, I guess the middle A is a silent A. Is that how silent A? Yeah, but you're right. It is supposed to be 2 syllables. Kamala.
Yeah. It's weird because I feel like that would eliminate a lot of the problem if that middle A were dropped. Like if it were just Kamala, I think we would then be down to the debate of whether it's Kamala or Kamla.
Yes, not Kamala. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Thank you for being right there with me. Yes, that's you completed the Punnett square or whatever it is. Yes. So when people mispronounce it, Richa in real life or Kamala may mispronounce it on the show or on set or whatever. How does that feel? And do you correct people when they do?
Yeah. No, I don't always correct people, and that's my own problem because I always want to, because it does definitely always bother me when people say my name incorrectly, and especially when I've already told them how to say my name. I've gotten really, really weird pronunciations. Like, I don't even know why you would ever read my name and think it's Rika. Like, why would that even occur to your brain?
I think I told you I did this joke, and I ended up putting it in a video because you're on Never Have I Ever. Purna Jagannathan is on it. So I said you guys should do a spin-off and call it for Richa or for Purna. And I was very proud of that. I go, you guys should get married. You can have your own like lesbian wedding, and those would be the vows.
Richa, that is funny.
I can say like the erna and stuff like that, but ba is very hard because Hindi is aspirated, and so like saying ba, bharat, that's easier for me. But bhavan is. But did I say it right? Bharat.
Yeah, you said it correctly. Yeah, but some people can't say it, including my own husband.
So I mean, do they get a pass then? Like, if people say, look, if they try, and you're like, okay, don't hurt yourself. Does that? I mean, is it okay then if they can't? I mean, we should be sensitive to that, right? If their mouth muscles are just not formed to do it.
I don't think that I have the objective answer for that, but I think what matters is that people are trying, like you said. If they're really genuinely trying and they literally can't say the word, you can't judge them or hate them for that. Right. It's worse if they don't try at all and they're just like, I'm not even gonna try, I don't know, Borat, that's a lot worse. And he's gotten that.
Great success. That's all I want to do when I hear that.
You nailed it with that one. At first, I would probably get irritated if a South Asian person said my name wrong. But at the same time, I do think that you can't really blame or judge people because everyone's had such a different experience. Growing up as a first or second generation person in this country, we've all had such unique and different ways of growing up and how we've learned about our identities and accepted or embraced or rejected parts of our South Asian identity. So, and not just that, it's, who you grew up around. Did you have other South Asian friends? Did your parents move here recently, or did they move here, when they were kids and they have American accents? Everyone has had such a different way of growing up here. And because of that, people say their own names and other South Asian names the only way that they know how sometimes. And also, I think another part of it is that a lot of us have had to assimilate and do things a certain way to survive and as a way to protect ourselves from bullying and violence at times.
Who's it up to? Is it up to you? Like, if it's your name, is it up to your parents? Is it up to society?
I think ultimately everyone has the right to say their own name the way they want to say it and the way that has been comfortable for them. I think names always have a story behind them. There's always a reason why we say our name the way we say it. And some of it has to do with the way our parents said it, or the way our friends said it, or the way we've forced ourselves to say it in order to fit in. Or if there's so many different reasons we say our names the way we do.
I went to college in Cleveland. I'm from Cincinnati, so in Ohio at Case Western, and I was friends with a man. Well, we're 18. I'm going to still say a guy or a boy, because he would say, hi, my name is Amish Patel. His name was Amish Patel. And yes. I said, you sound like you're rowing a boat for a religion in Eastern Ohio. Like, you're Amish and you've got this paddle, which makes sense because they can't use electricity, I guess. It does actually, your name is very deep. And you're not even like, you're giving a shout out to the Amish culture from Hinduism, which I respect as someone who's inclusive. But he would introduce himself at parties. He's a pretty cool guy as Amish Patel. And I started calling him Amish Patel. And everybody started calling him Amish because it's ridiculous. Your name isn't Amish Patel.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is, even if somebody will say their name a certain way, but you know that you know other people with the name Amish, and you know that it's pronounced Amish, so you're going to say Amish. And, I think it's up to him if he wants to be like, yeah, cool. I think it's cool that you're saying my name the way I should also be saying it. But it's also up to him if he wants to be like, don't call me that. That's not my name.
Yeah. No, it is. I've tried to give people nicknames before. There was a guy on our floor. His name was Jason. I just started calling him J-Dog. He's like, no, don't call me J-Dog. I'm like, oh, come on, you're joking. He goes, no, I'm not. I'm going to kick your ass if you call me J-Dog again. I'm like, Fine. All right. I won't call you J-Dog. It's fine. And he really could kick my ass because he was anyone else other than me. Pretty much everyone can. So I'm not pushing J-Dog on that. But now that I'm 2,000 miles away from him, I'm going to call him J-Dog. So the hell with him.
What's up, J-Dog?
What's up, J-Dog?
My
That's
ass,
what's up.
too.
That's totally it. The counter argument would be our parents are the ones who technically named us, right? So is
Right.
it up to our parents to say, no, you should be saying your name Richa and not Rika? What was it, Rika?
Rika, Risha. I've gotten everything.
Risha. See, I get Rajiv out here because of all the Spanish influence.
Of course.
With parents, I mean, I think they certainly get a vote, and it's certainly like 2-1 for a while. I mean, my parents, they didn't really correct me on the whole Rajiv thing, and it was actually a friend of mine, Anita Chandra, in Chicago when I was 15, and she's kind of an older sister type character to me. And she said, okay, your name is not Rajiv Satyal. Like, you keep saying Satyal. It's not that. It's Satyal. And I think what's hard for Americans is, and I'm American, I was born here just as you, and it's hard for us because Hindi is so non-accentuated, right? There's not emphasis on syllables like here. Like here you say Rajiv or you say Rajiv if you want to use the J. But there it's Rajiv. It's just flat. Like it's not
Rajiv.
Richa or Richa. It's Richa.
Yeah.
That's what's hard
Exactly.
with Kamala, I think, because people want to say Kamala or Kamala. Luckily, I don't think we're saying Kamala, but I think there is this battle for Americans of like, I know that would be really egregious,
Yeah,
but
that
like
would be
Kamala or Kamala, I think we want to add that on the American spin. What do you think? Do you find that to be the case?
Yeah. No, I've never thought about it that way, but I think that's definitely true for the most part, that over here we do put emphasis on certain syllables that you just don't in other countries and in other languages. But yeah, I think what happened with you, with your friend who sat you down and said, okay, look, this is how you really pronounce your name. Maybe a lot of people, like your friend, what did he say? Amish Paddle?
Amish Paddle. Is it Patel, obviously. But I have met a lot of Patels who say Patel. They're like, you're saying it wrong. I'm like, you're saying it wrong. It's Patel.
You're saying it wrong. Yeah, no, maybe Amish Paddle never had somebody before you tell him how his name is really pronounced, or maybe his parents did, but nobody wants to listen to their parents when they're growing up, when they're already dealing with identity crisis. So, I think maybe it just takes that one person to tell them, and I don't know.
When I posted this on the book, on the Good Book Facebook, that was the prevailing notion. But a couple of people made the point that no, it's your parents, it's society, and drawing the distinction, like we're saying with Sanskrit or Hindi, if it's a biblical name, like in our tradition, if it's from the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, the Vedas, like you're talking about,
Right.
that then it really kind of, you should, therapy will tell you there is no should, but that you should respect the tradition, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
should
definitely.
really carry it on, but I mean, they've gotten a lot of love. There's other people. It's not, well, that's the thing. It's not just, you're not the only Richa in the world. I'm not the only
Yeah.
Rajiv in the world. There are other
Yeah,
Kamalas. So
Exactly.
if we're not doing it, somebody else will do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there's just more, I guess, attention and scrutiny on people who are in the limelight and who, for that name, are the only source of representation. So someone like Kamala Harris, I just said her name wrong now. Kamala Harris.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So yeah, you get so used to hearing it one way, but for someone like her, besides my character on Never Have I Ever, which is still only a very small percentage of the world population even knows that character, but a lot more people know Kamala Harris, and so there is a lot more attention and scrutiny on how she says her name, and because it's also such a monumental moment for South Asians, having someone like her in the position she's in, there's even more of a, I guess, desire and demand for her to say her name the way they think she should say her name.
There's a clear shout out to the African American community in the way that she carries herself, the way she presents herself, the way she identifies herself, and her personal story, that I think a lot of us in the Desi community, the South Asian community, feel like, okay, that would just be a nice little signal. Could you just give us that? Because it would mean so much
Right.
to those little brown girls out there whose names are not pronounced right by white people or black people. And you're kind of
Right.
making it worse. But then is
Yeah.
that her responsibility? Is it up to us to say, well, this is how, like Kamala might be a bridge too far because she does have the A. And I think that would be kind of a mind screw to a lot of people who are like, well, what happened to the A? Now you're trying to teach us a silent A, whatever. Liberals always trying to sneak in their agenda. Like, but Kamala feels like that might be doable. But I think you were mentioning the other day, you don't think you've heard her say her own name.
Yeah, I actually don't think I've ever heard her say her. I think I've heard her say Kamala, but I think you said she says Kamala. I've never heard her say that.
I think the way you said it is the way it is. I think you're right. I think she's Kamala.
Kamala. Yeah, I think she says Kamala.
I guess I can live with. I think Kamala would be a dagger. But
I think Kamala's would be more cringe inducing. But
right.
Once again, that's, if like we were talking about, I think names have a story, and I'm sure there is one or many stories behind why she says her name the way she says her name. And who am I or who is anyone to tell her that she has been saying it wrong her whole life, because we don't know what she's had to go through, what kind of things she's had to do to protect herself or to fit in, especially where she is right now in this white male dominated political arena, and what she has to do right now to be strong and to survive.
Well, I think that's also the truth, and the hard part for a lot of people, and stuff people don't want to talk about, which is, dude, there's a lot of anti-blackness in the Desi community as well.
Yes.
When I read her story about, wow, she's from Tamil Nadu and she married a man who's Jamaican, you just go, oh my gosh, how did that go over within the diaspora, our community? And she may have been more embraced by the Black community, in which case you go, well, I mean, that's part of the deal then, right? Like, I mean, if a community accepts you and embraces you and starts calling you, like, I mean, even when you hear white people and Black people say the two-letter abbreviation for television, they say it differently. Like, Black folks say TV. I see them on the TV any given Sunday. They say TV. White people say TV. I was on TV. Yeah. And it's just a different extension. It just is. Like, when a Black person says TV, it sticks out to me. And when a white person goes TV, I'm like, oh, you're saying it like a Black person does. And that's just two letters, right?
Yeah, I've never heard that, but that's so interesting.
And so we have different ways of pronouncing things. So if she's embraced by the Black community and they start calling her Kamala or Kamala, I mean, then they claim they gave her love where our community may not have. So now we're kind of these Johnny-come-latelys being like, well, this is how you say it. It's like, where were y'all 40 years ago when, we were trying to shop at the Desi store in Oakland?
For me personally, I think that it would definitely be interesting to hear her talk more about her South. Once again, I haven't heard her talk too much about her South Asian culture, and that's not to say that she doesn't. I just personally haven't heard that many interviews with her talking about it. Although she did a really cute and funny video with my boss, name drop Mindy Kaling, where they made dosas together in Mindy's house, which I loved.
I should be calling you Senator Harris, right?
No, you should not. That's not on my birth certificate.
Okay.
Kamala? Yes, please.
Okay, because the Indian in me, I feel like my parents, my
Just
dad will watch this.
Just don't call me auntie.
Okay, I won't call you auntie. They'll be like, how could you call her by her first name? She's worked so hard.
But yeah, it would be,
great.
For me, it would be very interesting to hear her talk more about her South Asian story growing up here.
Both my grandma's names are Devi, the word Devi. And so they're both named Shakuntala Devi. And
both of your grandmothers?
Isn't that crazy? Shakuntala Devi Bali, Shakuntala Devi Satyal.
That's crazy and amazing.
And it's amazing. And so I found a couple of old pictures. My dad found them because in the video, I was like, okay, let me give them a shout out. And that's the opening line I gave, because I don't know. I mean, it's probably too much for America, or maybe just too, maybe ballot wise to even change it to, even it's Kamala Devi Harris. I kind of feel like, oh, okay, so is that a way for us to like get that in there? Or can we get some kind of shout out on the middle name? It's just kind of funny to think about, but you're going there. That is such a part of our culture. Devi, I think, also means goddess. So you've got the lotus goddess thing going on. It's a pretty, it'd be meaningful for our community, I think.
Yeah, what a powerful name she has. And also I have my best friend since I was a kid. Her name is also Devi. So both the names Kamala and Devi are just like how Devi is for you. Devi is such a special name for me. But that would be awesome if her name was Kamala Devi Harris on the ticket. But at the same time, so many people do know that that's her middle name because she has spoken about it. So I think it's cool that at least we know that's her middle name and she has talked about it.
I went to a conference, a performing arts conference here in LA, and the organizer spells her name as Jennifer, and she spells it, her mom spelled it, Jennifer with an extra I. So it's Jennifier.
Oh, interesting.
And and I asked her about that. So like on the last night, I go, okay, I have to ask you. She goes, my name, right? I go, I'm sure you get tired of it, but I've tried to. She goes, my mom wanted me to stand out. And so she spelled it a different way. And then Jennifer grabs my wrist and she just goes, but I was asking my mom, why didn't you just name me a different name? Like, why didn't you just pick a more unique name
hilarious.
versus Jennifer? Like, you could have called me Genevieve or Shirley or some name that just is not used anymore. But you picked a mundane name and just threw a random I in.
Tried to make it less mundane. That is so funny.
We have a cousin who's a dentist, and I asked her if I could tell the story, and she said yes. Her name is Preeti Mistry. So my wife's maiden name is Mistry, really technically Mistry. So it's Preeti Mistry, but she changed it to Priya. And the family is like, why did you change it to Priya? And so she told me just recently, she goes, well, the reason I changed it is because I have a lot of white clients, and they were calling me Pretty Mystery, and it just felt like a porn star. Coming to the stage, Pretty Mystery.
Gee, that's sad because that's a beautiful name, and it is sad when our beautiful Indian, Sanskrit, or South Asian names become distorted into what sounds more like a porn star's name, because that's not how it's pronounced, and it wouldn't sound like a porn star's name if you said it correctly.
Right. And hopefully they're not saying that at the dentist or at Starbucks, right? We all have, my name at Starbucks is Marshall, and people go, how did you get Marshall? I go, because Hersha goes by Marsha. That's her Starbucks name, Marsha. I'm like, I'm going to be Marshall. I love Eminem. I'm going to be Marshall Mathers. That's going to be my thing. And so I'm always go by Marshall. But it's funny, like I was out at Starbucks, and the way the guy was calling out the names almost felt like he was a DJ at a strip club. He's like, Marsha, I've got a coffee for Marsha. I'm like, what are you doing right now? You're making it sexual. You don't need to make this sexual.
Maybe he's actually a DJ and he was just getting in the mode before his gig.
He's all getting amped, or maybe that's how he speaks in real life. Like he goes through his life like, hey, Richa, how are you, Richa? But then when he's on the mic at the strip club, he's like, okay, coming to the stage is Pretty Mystery. He just deflates. The coffee runs out.
That would make a great sketch.
That would make a great sketch. Yeah, we should do that. That'd be a lot of fun. There was a woman at Procter & Gamble, and her name was No Name. And
her name was No Name.
Her name was literally No Name, Noname. And when people would see it, they're like, what's your name, Nonami or Naname? And she's like, no, it's literally No Name. And she's an East Asian woman. And about my age, I think maybe a couple years younger, but it just always threw people off. And it was funny that
so interesting.
No Name was harder to say than like Nonami.
That is so interesting.
No Name caught us all.
I guess even if you thought that it said No Name, you'd be like, well, that can't be her name. So then you try to make it something else.
I remember, I don't know if they actually went through with it, but I think there was a couple, an Indian couple, and they had like Ria as one of their daughter's names. And then they were thinking about like naming their other daughter Daya. I'm like, I don't think you should have like Daya, Ria as their names. Prashant, the EP for Hassan is Venkatara Manujam.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool.
7.
Yeah.
It's like skipping a stone. It's like, how far can you get it to go on the water?
That is so cool. Yeah.
His name is so long, Richa, that when we were doing our invitation for our wedding, our spreadsheet, we had to change the font from like 12 to 10 to get his name to fit in the Excel sheet.
That is amazing. And he should tell that story to people. That he should own it and be proud of it too.
I'm the reason they're a font 8.
Because of me, somebody had to change the font for their wedding invitation because I'm that important. There's a whole region of India where people have Wala as the last part of their name, and the first part is what their ancestors' jobs were. So there's a I think he's a producer. His name is Ronnie Screwvala, because one of his ancestors, I think, was somebody who worked with screws. The best one. The best
he screwed and got a lineage out of it. Yeah.
Yes. But the best one is I forgot the last name, but I forgot the first name, but the last name is Soda Bottle Opener Wala. This is a real last name.
Say it one more time.
Soda Bottle Opener Wala.
That is so
Soda
dope.
Bottle Opener Wala is a real last name of it's a famous person. I forgot what the first name is, but there's a restaurant named after him and everything. Yeah.
Soda bottle opener wala.
That's his actual last name.
If Kamala were half white, half Indian, half South Asian, would we be having the same conversation? Would it be more egregious or more forgivable if she's mispronouncing her name? How do you feel about that?
More forgivable if she was half white?
Yeah, let's say she's half white, half Indian, and she's like, my name is Kamala or Kamala. Would we have an expectation that she pronounce it right versus her being half black? Would that matter?
That's a really interesting question. I do think that whenever there's an element of whiteness, whether you're half white or full white or a quarter white, there's always going to be an element of white privilege. And with that, I think there's going to be extra scrutiny if you are half white, half South Asian, from the South Asian community. So yeah, maybe there is, an added element or layer of forgiveness. I don't know if forgiveness is the right word, but maybe it's more okay, I should say, if she says her name differently than how South Asians think she should say it, because she's not white.
It's a fellow person of color community.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not the colonization thing, like of just deferring to the normal, heteronormative, all that stuff, where it's like, and then the black community here, it has had it harder, let's face it, than the brown communities, certainly.
Yes.
And so maybe it's like, okay,
than any community.
we feel weird saying it to a black woman, like, here's how you should pronounce your name, because maybe, I don't know, it just feels more okay to say that to a half white person than a half black person. I don't know, maybe that's my own baggage, but it feels like in the climate, though, in the culture, that seems like that'd be more okay. I don't think that's a Rajiv thing. I think that's more of like a, right?
I think you're probably right. I do think that it would be more, I don't know what the word is. I guess people would be a little bit more outspoken about it or upset about it if she was more white than she was Indian, or half white, half Indian.
In this country, which used to be 90+% white, and it's getting, less now. It's, I think, 68, 69% white. You still basically filter, though, into black and white culture, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there is mixture and whatever, and black culture is white culture and vice versa, and there's that. But basically, those are the two identities. And most South Asians, most Indians who come here, most Desis, filter into one or the other, right? And mostly we're white Indians, mostly. But I know some black Indians. I know people who grew up around black folks. Russell Peters is one of them. Akash Singh is one of them. They definitely have more of that, like, they talk that way, and it's more acceptable because that's how they grew up. They grew up mostly in a black community, and so therefore they're going to speak differently. Versus, I grew up in white suburbs of a mid-sized Midwestern town. Of course, I'm going to speak a little bit nerdier, a little bit whatever, right? I mean, that's not going to be the only determinant of my voice and the timbre of my voice. But I think that we've sifted into that, and then Latino culture, Latinx culture has been the next thing that's come out, as you could be probably a Latin Indian or something like that, like this Maria Teresa Kumar, I think is mixed with Voto Latino. But I think there's that whole, like, Desi culture in the United States isn't yet a thing. Yes, there's chai and turmeric and yoga, I get it. But to act Indian would be, I don't know, be like a software engineer or a doctor? I don't know what that would mean. Whereas, like, you're acting white right now, or, yo, you're acting a little black. Why are you talking like that, son? Like, there's two different modes of speaking.
Yes.
And there's this third emergent one under Latinx, but I don't think Desi speech pattern or turn of phrase is yet a thing in this country.
I don't think so either. And a lot of that has to do with mainstream media and how we've been represented or not represented for so long. And I do think that's changing with the emergence of more content and more storytellers who are giving different perspectives and expanding on the narrative that we've had for so long.
I think if she would just say, it's like Pamela, but like Kamala, like bringing it down like Kamala, because a friend of a friend, her name was Niyati, and I was like, so Nidhi. She's like, no, Niyati. I'm like, Nidhi, no. And then finally, you know how she got me to say it? She goes, you know sea cows, like manatees? I go, Niyati. Bam. Pamela. Kamala.
Yeah. I don't want to say what she should do because, like I said, I think she should do what she wants to do and what she's had to do her whole life. So she should just do her.
I love it. I love it. She should do you, Devi. Keep doing your thing. And it's been amazing, amazing talking to you, Richa Moorjani. Richa Tanuja Shukla Moorjani. If we really wanted to embrace the whole.
Thank you. Thank you. No one has called me by my new full name, including Tanuja. So thank you for that.
I just wanted to incorporate. See, every name is a story. Every name is a story. So
true.
Thank you so much for joining us on, we'll say the Funny Indian Show, the Tangent Show. What do you bring to the table? We'll see how we'll use it. But ultimately, really appreciate you joining us, Richa Moorjani, who plays Kamala on the global Netflix hit, Never Have I Ever. And never have I ever had this much fun during quarantine as talking to you, Richa.
Oh, that's so sweet. I had so much fun talking to you. I love that we said this was going to be 30 minutes and it's been like 2.5 hours. But it went by so fast and I could keep doing this.
It did. It'd be awesome. I'd love to have you over for the chai chat sometime and give our best to Bharat.
I will.
All right. All the best to you. Okay. Thank you.
So good talking to you. Bye.
Good talking to you too. See ya. Bye.